During that time, I was told people who have kids with disabilities, they normally terminate the pregnancy.
Oh, jeez.
So I had to deal with these challenges on my own.
Did they say, what does it come from? Is it any?
In order for me to survive, I had to work. I make so much money. Well, you can't make over $2,000 a month, or her disability will be cut off.
We all go through storms, things that bring us to our knees, the pain that causes us to never see the sun again. But you rise to tell your story. That pain that you went through, someone else needs to hear about it and how you came out of it. Don't hide what made you who you are today. Tell your story. Welcome back to another episode of Say Something with Cheré. I am your host, Cheré, but you already know that, right? We're here to talk about life-changing stories and have impactful conversations. And today we're going to have a conversation with my guest, a conversation that is often swept under the rug and actually overlooked by many people, and that is being a caregiver of disabilities. And today my guest with me is Mary Lou Core. Did I say it right? Mary LaCour.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is it? Mary LaCour Davis. Let me get that right.
That's it.
And so please help me welcome Mary. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm amazing. I'm so glad that you came on to talk about this, because we talked about what you're dealing with, what you've dealt with since migrating over to Atlanta and being a disability caregiver to your own daughter. And it's a topic that's near and dear to me, because even like I'm a caregiver for my grandmother and I have power of attorney, and just the stuff that come with it, or the things that you have to jump through to get help for your family, it almost just makes you want to give up and pull your hair out. Like, it doesn't make sense. So when I was speaking to you about your daughter and her condition that she's living with, let's tell people a little bit about that. So your daughter is how old now?
She's 17 years old now. She was, she's been diagnosed with Spina Bifida. I was aware that she would be born with Spina Bifida at about 5 months of pregnancy. During that time, I was told people who have kids with disabilities, they normally terminate the pregnancy. For me, it was more than me having a child with a disability. I have a child that brought another experience into my life. It allowed me to display another part of my heart to my child and for others. So to be put in that position, it took me aback. That day I was in the doctor's office probably for like about 3 hours, just shut down the doctor's office, because it was unbelievable, and it was more unbelievable that I received the response I received regarding keeping my blessing. So
How old were you when this happened? At 5 months old when you found out?
I was 30 years old when I found this information out.
So was it testing done? Like, what made them carry on or how did they know, and what made them actually check?
Well, I went in for one of my normal exams. They did a test, noticed during an ultrasound and also some blood work that she didn't have a section of her spine wasn't fully developed, which caused a sac of fluid to be on her spine. Instead of her having a full, complete spine, she had a part of her spine, the sac of fluid, then the rest of her spine.
So I was trying to look up more about spina bifida, and that's what I pretty much found out, that it is the lack of, or the full development of the spine of the infant or the embryo. So at 5 months now they tell you this and you have to make a decision, but it sounds like you made your decision right away. Like, you knew immediately that you wasn't going to terminate or get rid of your baby. And then, but did you ever think twice about what life was going to look like for you? Because did you have other children before?
Yeah, I had 2 daughters. My first was in 94. I had a stillborn son in 97 and my middle daughter in 99.
So yeah, you already knew what it was like to be a mom. Were you a single mom?
Oh, no, ma'am.
You were married
No,
at that time.
No, I wasn't a single mom. I wasn't married with her father, but I was dating her
You
father.
still was with their father. So I'm just trying to figure out, making that decision, you knew immediately, like, no, I'm not terminating my pregnancy. Did you ever think about what life was going to look like for you?
In actuality, I never did. What I always think about is, a while before that, we were talking about how we would interact with the students in school, the special needs students in school, and like we used to have bonds with the students in school. So we were talking about the joys we got out of that, and some kind of way it turned over to babies. And so I was like, I don't give I ever have a disabled child. I'm gonna love my child like I love the rest of them. 2 years later, I had a disabled child.
Did they say, what does it come from? Is it any, like, in study, like, how does it come from? What does it come from?
It comes from lack of folic acid.
Okay.
Something that I never was aware of.
So your doctor, did your testing and saw that you were, because that's what we provide, the folic acid. And they normally give us supplements when you're pregnant for that.
Yes. I have, like I said, that was something completely new to me. I never knew anything about, that was a necessity as far as pregnancy. I know we take the prenatal vitamins and all those things, but that was just something that was missing inside of me, which caused her to not develop fully.
So did you carry her full term? Or did you?
Yeah, I carried her full term. I had to have a C-section on Valentine's Day, which was my best Valentine's Day gift ever.
So then tell me now, Marianne, and I hate to make you relive this, but for the sake of someone who made the same decision as you today, and they're deciding to carry their baby full term, and as we go into educating what spina bifida is and the resources that come or doesn't come, tell me the day that you gave birth to your daughter.
Well, the day I gave birth was actually a week earlier than I was actually supposed to give birth. I was scheduled to have her on February 21st. I went in on February 14th just for a regular checkup because of me being high risk. I was at that every week point then. And I went in on the 14th and they brought me across the halls like, your blood pressure is high, like all this stuff I never experienced. Blood pressure, cord wrapped around the neck, low amnio fluid. It was everything that was totally new to me.
And you didn't have any symptoms before you went?
None of that. So once I get there, they told me like, they're gonna take her right now. They can't wait another week. It's like, she's ready to come and I'm ready to deliver, and brought me into the operating room. They took her out because I had to have a C-section and immediately brought her over to the NICU. Wow.
I just feel like, I remember the day I had my daughter and just the anticipation, knowing that you're about to give birth to a child who is not fully developed, and there's a handicap, there's a disability, and then it's a mom. But thank God it sounds like you already had experience too, or exposure with disability, so you already had a heart for them. But I know when they laid my daughter on my chest, the first thing I was thinking, do she have and I said, like, does she got her toes, she have all her fingers, are y'all counting, are y'all looking at her eyes? Like, I was just so worried, and I didn't have any issues. It was just that was always a fear of mine. And I always wonder, like, when I do see kids that are disabled or adults that are disabled, like, what that was like for the mother. So now that you have your daughter, and you're in Louisiana, you're in New Orleans, right? You had her in New Orleans. You was in Atlanta when you had her?
Yeah, I had her in New Orleans, yeah.
So you're in New Orleans, and now you're raising her. Tell me about the challenges at home.
Oh, God. It was a lot. From the day of her birth, I had to go in and sign documents for her to have certain surgeries in order for her to continue to live and thrive. She had to have a surgery on her spine 2 days after birth, and then she had a VP shunt put in the right side of her head, so she wouldn't get any fluid buildup onto her brain. So the shunt actually helps the fluid to go through and drain down in the stomach. She had that 2 weeks less than 2 weeks after being after birth. After that, I think a day after that, my biggest challenge was I just went to the hospital just to see her like I would every day, because she was in there for like a month and a half. And unbeknownst to me, they had just finished cleaning the wound on her head. So I walked in to see my daughter,
Baby.
with a scar from here to the back of her ears. And I passed out. I never saw nothing like that in my life.
Take your time.
But I think that was the beginning of I guess the times to show me like I'm experiencing this now, and I guess to give me the strength to keep going. Because during this time, my father was incarcerated. When I had her, so I didn't have no one, well, I didn't have him there with me. So I had to deal with these challenges on my own, also raising 2 other daughters in the process. So I didn't have anyone to basically go home to.
Right.
Instead, I just had to get in the car and cry to myself that time. But from there, after that, she just experienced so many different surgeries. It was one point when they were getting ready to discharge her, she stopped breathing. I thought I lost her. She came back, and 2 weeks later, she was discharged.
Do they send you home with like, does a hospital send you home with resources or therapy?
No therapy. No therapy. It's they send you home with resources on the places to go for care, like stuff for disability, but it was nothing that actually was there to help me to continue to help her.
So she's so you're home and you're trying to get used to this new life. At any time did you ever like join any support groups or try to learn like what do I do when I get home? Because I mean, I guess you didn't show any signs or challenges until she started to like maybe crawl or walk or hold her head up.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. But as far as any type of help in that area, I did a lot on my own, found my own way.
A mother's love. So you get through, so now we're raising her, she's in school, you're special needs school, classes, buses, and talk about the resources that you were given to help you, and did they actually make a difference, or did you have to constantly create resources of your own?
So as far as the resources, I could say when she was probably about 4 or 5 years old, she received these somewhat home health services, as to where someone comes in the home for 4 hours a day and just help me do the things that I would normally do for her, they would do for her. Mm-hmm. She received that when we were back home in Louisiana. She had a few challenges in some schools, but for the most part, her schooling was kind of okay. I did happen to run across a few people that actually cared for her. And that's even in child care. She was 3 years old attending a Head Start. Mm-hmm. For some reason, out of the blue, the lady who was there, she actually cared for her. She actually monitored her. And out of the blue, my daughter started having seizures at 3 years old, foaming from the mouth and everything. This lady immediately jumped into action, did what she had to do, get whoever there. I just happened to work a few blocks away, so I was able to go there. But she was in a seizure for almost 3 hours.
What? Did they figure out what caused it? Was it medications or?
They didn't know throughout the years. I think she was probably about 6, they realized well, they diagnosed her with having febrile seizures. And once, if she has a fever or some type of infection, then the seizures would trigger. They wasn't sure if it was from the shunt that was put in her head, because sometimes when that malfunctions, it can cause certain things which would trigger a seizure inside of her.
So what was the time that you started noticing or actually seeing her challenges with just carrying on with day-to-day activities? How old was she?
Months old, when she wasn't able to crawl. When other kids was walking, she wasn't able to walk. Talking so much wasn't much of a challenge, but like the normal day-to-day things that kids would do, be able to sit up, she wasn't able to sit up due to the issue with her spine. So yeah, I could probably say about 6 months.
Did you ever go into like a therapist for counseling for mental to help you cope with showing up as mom? Do you regret it?
I'm really unsure. I was raised by a strong Black woman who took care of 12 siblings, 7 of her own, 5 others, alone. And I saw her do a lot by herself, and I just felt like I had to be that person. So I never really asked.
And I think that's something that we as Black women do. We've seen it. Even Black men, we've seen our mothers and our parents do it. The Black woman, we have seen the Black woman show up and do it alone and get it done. And so we think that we have to do it. But now we're in a generation to where therapy is probably the best thing that can happen, but we still try to do it by ourselves.
Right nowadays.
Yeah, right now. The support system is really needed. So now your daughter is 17. You've now moved to Atlanta.
Yeah, I've been here since she was 12.
Since she was 12.
Yeah.
Taking care of being a caregiver, period, comes with its own challenges. So to uproot from home and move to a whole nother state.
Alone.
Alone. What has that been like? Because I know you was telling me that there's a lot of stuff that you're just not getting in the state of Georgia.
At all. So like I said, from the services that she was receiving back home, that helped me to be able to go to work and to be able to come home and do a few things before, while someone else is helping her. When I moved here, it was just her and I. And that was one thing that I inquired about, that we tried to, to get several times, in which she was constantly denied. In order for me to be able to go to work, I needed some type of extra help. And they wouldn't provide that for me.
They as in Georgia?
Georgia. Also, for a year, I had to travel from Georgia to New Orleans for all of her doctor's appointments, all of her treatments, and she was seeing, I could say, at least about 7 or 8 doctors. So I had to schedule all of these appointments during a certain time, or even if she had to, follow up with something, I would have to get on the highway or get on a plane and travel back to New Orleans in order for her to receive the care she needs. I applied for Medicaid for her when I moved out here.
Yeah.
I think it went back and forth for probably almost a year. I think I applied in July. She didn't receive Medicaid until April of the following year.
So what kind of, that's shocking to me. I always think that people that are elderly or disabled, they have firsthand action to the resources. Like they're getting their stuff right away. They come first. And so to hear you say you're driving back to Georgia, and then I wanted to ask you, so she's seeing 7 doctors. What are the doctors for? Are she facing?
So she sees, because of her disability, so the disability affects her her brain, it affects her spine, and it affects her limbs, her legs. So she had to see a neurologist, a urologist, a psychologist to make sure she don't have any, issues. She sees an orthopedic. She was seeing another doctor for bladder and bowel control, and physical medicine. Yeah, and physical medicine.
So after traveling back, that's just a lot. That's a lot. And I know that was a strain on you to get her back and forth. Even her, though, I can imagine what it was like for her to do that. And then, so how long did you said it took a year for you to even get Medicaid in Georgia?
Yeah, and I applied. It was just like, well, you have to go through here. And I'm going from defects to Social Security because she have a disability. And they were saying, well, it has to be approved through disability. And I'm contacting them. We don't have this. We don't have this. We don't. And it was back and forth for, I could say, 10 months.
Wow. So when you did finally get the medical, then you found her. She got all her doctors here in Georgia now.
Yeah, she have all of her doctors here. The only thing that she wasn't able to receive was that extra care.
The extra care. And when you tell me about that, when you say extra care.
So with that, well, back home we called it EPSDT services, which the services are to help a parent care for their disabled child. Basically to give the parent a break.
The home help, to come in the home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, in order to receive those types of services, and it's another name, you have to have a disability as to where a nurse has to come in the home. So it's like, say if someone has a trach or something, those are the people that would receive that extra care.
And not your daughter with Spina Bifida?
Nope.
So you receive you don't get any type of home care
None.
to help you. It's just you.
None.
Getting her dressed. Has she graduated yet, or she's still in school?
She graduates next year.
Next year. So getting her ready for school and after school care. Well, now she doesn't need after school care, but
she does.
Oh, she does.
Because that's the only way I can work. So I was even unable to work for a long period of time because I didn't have, like, she has physical therapies and she has these doctor's appointments. So I would have to leave a job to go take care of her needs versus if I had a time of the day where someone else was doing that, I would be able to leave from work and then go take care of these things. So she has been in the Boys and Girls Club, I think, for the last 3 years. And that's how I'm able to go to work and pick her up in the evening from the Boys and Girls Club.
So is he active in any school extracurricular activities?
Chorus, but that's been a challenge too. It's a lot of things that have been left undone. So she haven't really experienced what chorus is like. I fought for it since her 10th grade year at that school, which they never had any of those, any of that available to the special needs kids. To me, when I see it's like they're kind of separated from the regular ed.
Yeah, discarded almost.
And so I fought for 2 years to get that. They finally gave it to, they finally put her in at the end of last school year, which was her junior year. And I was just receiving emails about her being absent. She's absent. She said doctor's appointments were coming with, why is she absent? Then I get another email like, well, we're gonna have to be forced to do this, like with a truancy, whatever they do out here when the kids don't go to school.
Knowing that she's special needs.
So I'm calling the school like, what's going on? Something is not right. And I contact the school. She was put in chorus. Nobody from special needs ever brought her. No one from the class brought her. So she was in chorus for, I could probably say like a month and a half, but never attended.
Wow.
The crazy part is, it just happened again this school year.
This school year already?
The same thing.
We just got in school. So you're constantly having to fight for her, and then she's having to speak up for herself and fight for herself. And then, just hearing your story, and I want to hear about what is it that you need, because hearing that you have a special needs person that you're taking care of at home, your child, yes, it's your responsibility, but one that you're fighting for income and for resources, for medical, and at the same time, you still have to also now take off work or reduce hours at work, which limits your income.
Yes.
Also, to go and be with that child, it's just like, what does it take for our human services to see what is actually needed? Like, what is needed in this situation? Because I can name all kind of stuff. It probably don't even make sense, but I can just see from sitting on the other side of the table, like, what's needed?
Help, mentorship, guidance. I guess someone to just put out there the extreme amount of need for these people. Like someone to basically advocate for our children instead of us advocating for our kids ourselves or to help us.
Has Georgia offered you a support group? Advocacy. So we need to find that. That's what we need to find. We need to find a support group. If you know anybody or you're attached to someone that deals with disability, special needs, make sure you leave a comment here, leave that resource, because that's what you need. And I want to know how you're now married, recently married. Yeah. But how are you handling all of this?
Oh, God. By the grace of God. I do have like verbal support from my family. I have awesome siblings, praying siblings. I have support from my children, from my husband, but it's not a lot because everyone else have their own lives, their own things that they have to do. But other than that, it's just me holding a lot of the weight. I really don't have, I lost the main part of her support in June when her father was murdered.
Oh, Jesus.
And that was physical, mental.
Yeah.
Financial, if I have to go to the hospital and make these decisions about all these surgeries that she have had, I don't have any of that. And that's really been the main issue for me lately.
I feel like I'm one that carries the weight. It's like I want to help so bad. And I wanted you to tell your story because so many people like myself think that you all have the resources. Y'all getting the check. I think the first thing you hear out of somebody's mouth when you see them being a caregiver is like, oh, well, they getting that check. There's so many things that come that check can't even begin to take care of.
Nothing. You can't even make a certain amount of money. Back home, I had my own school bus company. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to survive, I had to work. I make so much money. Well, you can't make over $2,000 a month, or her disability would be cut off. And it wasn't about the disability. The money wasn't the issue. It was the medical coverage.
Yeah.
Because those bills are thousands and thousands of dollars. So that was my main concern. So I don't care what y'all do about the money itself. It's not helping me. Yeah. But I would rather her have. Yeah, I'd rather for her have that. But even with the death of her dad, it increased her benefits, but at the same time, they're still sending another letter. We're taking away from this. We're taking away from this. Now her financial support is gone. He's not coming back. So he can't take care of the things that he used to take care of. And this was put into place for this. But soon as you give her this, you send another letter saying, oh, well, we're going to take this away from this. We're going to take this away from that.
This is the hardest. I've never heard it to this degree. I've never heard this to this degree. And my heart goes out to you and anybody else that may be dealing with raising a special needs child or a young lady, on a good note, you have provided this amazing life for her from outside of the challenges. You still have provided, I think I saw a birthday party.
Oh, girl, she don't miss nothing. She don't miss. She's involved in everything. I can tell you that.
She was dressed and so pretty, and the laughter and the joy, and you've been able to provide her still with a good life, the best that you could. And I just want you to know that that's tremendous, and my hat goes off to you, because don't take that lightly. That's not a small task to do, even with your other 2 daughters that you've had to take care of, and I'm sure they're in the picture as well. Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit about, what's her name?
Ryan.
Tell us about Ryan, what the life that she lives today. How is she? What's her character like?
She's a real sweetheart. She was born on Valentine's Day. She's really a love child. She has has a beautiful personality inside and out. Everywhere she goes, like, everybody always wanna, attach themselves to her. She's from time to time, she deal with her little own personal issues due to all of her different surgeries that she's had through life, with the different types of pains or whatever. Mm-hmm. She deal with that. She loves music. She loves to sing.
Okay.
She loves to make beats in her head. Like she make music a lot.
She beatbox? Wait a minute.
Like, she's always humming some type of music or something. She loves music. Has a semi-old soul, I can say. And she will be graduating next year, class of 2025.
I can imagine that's going to be a ball. Just a ballroom and ball gowns and everything else. So does she cook? Does she do anything? I know she's in a wheelchair, right? Her upper part, she actually has control. Is it just her lower part?
Yeah.
From her spine. So does she cook?
She helps in the kitchen at times. We allow her to do. My daughter does a lot of like cooking and baking with her. Okay. Just trying to show her different ways to move around the kitchen, and they do cooking in, like, meal preps in school. Okay. Also. So yeah, she does. She don't do much cooking because I'm still
treating her like a baby. So as a mom would.
I'm more afraid to let her do a lot, but I'm kind of scaling back now. Just want to allow her to be an adult and to do adult things on her own.
Yes, I want to see that. I really do. So I want you to look in this camera, and I want you to inspire somebody that may be faced with the same situation that you were faced with at 5 months old, scared of what's going to happen after. So I want you to give them some strength and give them some tips.
All I can say is, no matter what your challenges are, make sure you allow God to lead you first. Don't let anybody tell you different. Don't allow anyone to take control of your child and your child's needs. Make sure you are always your child's biggest advocate. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have that. I work in the schools and I see it on a daily basis. Make sure you are your child's biggest advocate, and never, ever, ever give up. And most importantly, seek help, because I need it. I'm always ready to. I always feel like I have to give to live, but I need to receive.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad that you said you're ready to receive, because my heart goes out to you. I always say the biggest gift God ever gave me was being a mom. Being a mom means everything to me. So I know the weight that we carry, and we want the best for our children, and we're going to go to war for it. But I don't want you to forget about yourself. You need a support group. You need that sisterhood, even outside of your husband and your other kids. Like, you need it, because none of us can even imagine what you're going through on a daily basis. It's just a mom thing.
Yes.
So
Times alone, surgeries alone. I mean, her spine surgery was for days, and
get the help. What do you need from Georgia? You need home health care. Even though she's 17, because she can't be home alone, right?
who is so?
Oh,
Per her, she loved to be home alone. It was me that didn't want to do it. I didn't even let my oldest be home alone until she was 16 years old.
so okay. Well, that makes sense though. No, that makes sense, especially and y'all from New Orleans. That's something
Yeah.
you know. No shade on New Orleans, but because what you went through when she was 12 years old when you get here. Before we close, I want to recognize 3 to 5 things that you know Georgia needs to man up in these areas when it comes to special needs.
The first thing is, as far as helping parents who can't help themselves or people who need that extra help with those in-home services, it's a necessity. It can allow us to breathe better and to do better when it comes to caring for our children instead of us being constantly overwhelmed. The second thing is for the medical coverage. Like the medical coverage only cover certain things. For months, I've struggled with getting her the full amount of supplies that she needs as far as her incontinence. And I actually had to pay for those things out of pocket. I never had to do that back home. Everything was completely covered, in which in that sense, one time it actually caused her to have a bladder infection. I had to bring her to the hospital because she don't have everything that she needs in order to take care of her needs when it's necessary. Another thing is with the school bus system. Well, the school system, they need to be on top of these children needs, how they should. They have certain IEPs and different plans that they are supposed to abide by. And majority of the time, she's not getting what she needs, in which I have to have a meeting on next week regarding that.
Wow.
The school bus system.
What district are you in?
Gwinnett.
Oh, okay. Which is supposed to be the #1 district in Georgia, or Metro Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right, the school bus, okay.
With the school bus thing, I think the only thing I have with that, they need to cater more to the special needs kids. They cater more to the kids that don't have special needs.
Is it a separate bus? Or she's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So they get on a specific bus, and my only issue is schools. Say if school let out early on a day, and there's no after school.
Okay.
If there's no after school, I have to leave work from my job and drive to her school, pick her up from school, and then go home. So I'm missing out on money to provide for my family because the bus company don't alter routes for the special needs kids. But a kid that doesn't have special needs can write a slip and let me get on this bus. Write a slip and they can get on that bus. So that's my main issue, and I've had discussions with them numerous times about that.
Yeah, that would definitely help you.
Just for people to show they care more. You have, I've been into places here, they don't hold the door for someone who's coming in with a wheelchair. We just went to a fair in Marietta. I stand in line, in order for my child to get on the ride. A lady, she can't ride this ride.
Why?
I have no idea. I'm like, well, there's another lady here, another girl here on this ride, and oh no, she can't ride this. So I had to go to their office and report her, in which they were like, no, that is something that we don't do. She can ride on whatever ride that she feels that she can get on in here. But people, I see a lot of people lack empathy out here also.
It's education. We got to educate. I feel like it sounds like we need more support groups, advocacy, awareness, And maybe there are some out there, we're just not aware of them. So hopefully we will hear once this episode airs, and we get some resources and some support, and get you in a sisterhood camp. I thank you so much for coming to share your story and get the word out there, because it's a misconception about special needs. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I literally have never thought that you would have went through this much with special needs. It's just like it becomes the norm, and that's just it. So, and I thought there were tons of people helping. So I thank you for sharing your story and allowing me to help get the word out there. And prayerfully, we would get some good hits, some comments, and some resources. And until the next time, why don't y'all reach out to Mary? I have her information scrolling here. Reach out to her with resources or any comments that you can direct her to help her. And also follow her, because you have a 360 photo booth or something. And you also have, you do clothes. Like, she made my friend's dress. This wedding dress was bomb, okay? We was always in Mexico, but that wedding dress was bomb. Everything, hands are gifted. So reach out to Mary. Support her and her family as she continues to provide for her daughter. Until the next time, we encourage you to say something.